Yay, thank you. Josh, you're an inspiring young man. Thank you for this time and for sharing your story and all the blessings to you on your journey ahead. Um, I want to go back to the first piece of your story that you shared in being a high school student and deciding to exemplify work ethic and just make it happen maybe before academia wants us to think that that's an appropriate time frame. And that's my jam. I'm all about tech school and showing up. So I want to ask about that piece. In my experience, I've been in education for years. I am transitioning currently to focus on workforce development and training. I see a lack in the workforce. I got a few years on you, but I feel like you exemplify what maybe some older generations had more consistently. And I see a lack of those skills in general in today's youth. So I'm curious what your motivators were, maybe what you had exposure to in your young life that brought that, or what mentality you brought to your, you know, mid to late teens that helped you show up in the world the way that you did, and if you see that lacking in today's youth as well.
Yeah, I love the question. Simply put, it was my environment at home, my environment with my friends at school, growing up with like being the poor kid, not having like literally having my stepdad at the time like rewelding my bike frame back together because we didn't have money to get a new bike frame. Learning about like my mom, just like being a single parent. Her and my dad split up and been on good terms ever since. Like had a great experience with them, being on great terms. But my mom being a single mom and taking care of me and all the shit that she went through and allowing me to be in that space, and then that she went back through college, or she went back, yeah, she went through college and got certified as a phlebotomist, and just like all these things just to take care of my brother and I. That was a piece as well. So from early on, as I can remember, I was conditioned with the belief that you work for the things that you want. And then being from Cape Cod, where it's opposed to what many people think, I lived there. I was born there. I didn't vacation there. So my life looked a little different than the people that go to the vacation there and experience the summer and the great beaches and all that. So the people that live there, it's heavy in trade, especially construction. That's what I grew up in. And it was to the point where I learned that if I wanted to make money and I wanted to do this or that, I had to work for it. And I didn't get anything unless I did. I'm so thankful that my parents were able to support me with getting me that BMX bike and then allowing me to do different things to earn money to fix the parts that kept breaking because it was like the lowest end BMX bike possible. But that's the first thing that was in my environment. The other thing that's a little bit deeper is my brother's dad. So not the stepdad I was talking about earlier, but my mom's first husband after my dad, my brother's dad. He was very abusive. He was bipolar, an alcoholic, all those things. So like mentally, physically, emotionally, like abusive to all my mom, my brother, and I. And so part of my fuel to your question about motivation was freedom, was escape. That's what BMX like. It's such an interesting thing because I wonder back then. I'm like, I wonder if like the motivation to ride came from the pure love and joy, or it was just like the one-way ticket out. Because I left home at 17. I moved to North Carolina, and I've built a relationship with my dad now that I wish I had built that whole time. And so same with a lot of my family. I just left. And unless I heard from them, I didn't really talk with them that much. I checked in with my parents and saw them on holidays, but like my cousins now, I'm like closer with them now as adults. And I'm like, man, I feel like I like just was like so affected by my environment in a traumatic way that like when I saw the opportunity for BMX to like go make a career out of it, I just left. And so the motivating factors were I think kind of messy because it was something I loved. But now that, especially why I left it in January 2020, like all together with riding my bike. It's been almost 4 years. It was to figure out who I was. Every time that I came to a challenge with, trying to speak more or build my coaching business, any anxiety or stress, I went back and rode. But that wasn't helping as much as it used to. And it got to a point where I was very unfulfilled with it. And I just was like, I'm getting depressed now because my crutch isn't working anymore. I'm not getting the pleasure from this thing. I'm not able to escape any of what I'm going through. So I took that away from myself to figure out who I was. And I was depressed for like a year and a half. There's a lot there because also the time right before that, my brother had taken his life, and I had like survivor's guilt and like put all this pressure on me to ride for him because he wasn't here and able, and this is what he loved me to do and like he wanted me to continue doing. So there was all those factors. So it's such a complicated question to answer, because although I feel like people want the answer of like, oh, like your motivating factor was like just to be your best self. Part of it was to experience my best life, but now I'm realizing part of it was escaping trauma, which doesn't work. And so now I'm processing a lot of that, and like the recent surgery that was awake for brain surgery in 2021, and then going through radiation again to start this year. Like a lot of these things that I'm learning that are I guess teaching moments for me to realize, oh, I need to process this stuff. I can't just keep running away from it. And me back in January 2020 was one of the first conscious steps I took to actually processing a lot of this by no longer riding my bike anymore, which is a very crazy thing to think about as my 16, 17-year-old self. But to answer your question, there's the motivation was so multidimensional that now I'm just fully understanding as a 35-year-old adult. And part of me feels sad about that, because I wonder how much more I could have progressed. Would I still be competing right now if it wasn't for that? But part of me is also very grateful and happy to know that, because now I'm able to work on that and process that. So this next journey that I'm on, that I'm super passionate about, which is helping people, I won't be as clouded, at least to the best of my ability, as I was before. Granted, I was 13 when I set on that journey, but I'm able to be conscious of like my motivating factors. And that's something I've also learned, is our motivations are based on our values. And what we value is going to determine what we are motivated to do. It's our motives to do something. And so I try to be cognizant of my values and the things that I truly value in my life and prioritize those things. And then ask myself, am I doing my best to do the things to nurture those values? And then that's where I try to redirect my energy, or what some people call motivation. It's really that inspiration, that purpose I'm on, and it's larger than me.